Oh, shoot, we're live. I accidentally clicked the wrong button. We're all right. We're live and we're recording.
For coming back to watch us, if you're still out there, man. So, anyway, a couple of things. Just make sure, guys, if you really enjoy the show, I know we have a buttload of listeners all over the world. So, thank you guys so much for listening. It's not quite an ass ton yet, but it's a buttload, right?
Would it be metric?
That's
ass
shit
ton?
ton. That's shit ton.
I mean, it's
Metric
European.
shit ton.
I thought it was a
don't know.
metric ass
Anyway.
ton.
Oh,
Imperial shit ton.
Yeah, there's actually some metric to that. If you go on the internet and look,
Yes, there is that.
there's actually a scale that defines those different things. So, anyway,
Chris, look that up for us.
Yes, sir.
But anyway, thank you guys for everything that you do when you listen. If you have any questions or anything or feedback, we'd love to hear from you, even if it's not good feedback. But anyway, like you don't like our wood pun jokes, but anyway.
We're okay with mean
It's good feedback, even that.
It's good feedback.
That was good
yeah.
feedback.
But a lot of times we don't even remember.
We're a little too punny sometimes.
Yeah, you are very punny for sure.
Sometimes it's not funny at all.
Anyway, yeah. Sometimes it's not very punny. Yeah. Anyway, if you guys do enjoy the show, we're kind of struggling as far as money wise. We don't feel like we're bringing in very much money. So if you guys really enjoy the show and you want to continue to hear us, make sure to check out the Patreon.com page. So how exactly? What's our URL there?
Patreon.com/Come and Brew Radio.
Okay, there you go. And also one of the things I wanted to
Greg.
basically talk about too is we've got these the sponsor shirts that we're working on. We kind of need a few more people in order to be able to put these out. But once you guys once we get these all done, they're going to be very slick and
The 10 and above.
Yeah, the 10 and above,
10 and above.
per month. So the first 20 people or 30 people that do this, we're going to get the shirts for. And I've actually been working on it, but I wasn't happy with the sew outs, so I didn't really like the way that they looked. I didn't think they were as clean as I wanted them to be, and so just keep in mind when you guys are going to get these, you're going to be slick. So I want to make sure that they're 100% badass when you get them. So
And we just got one more $10 pledge from Matt Engelman.
oh,
Thanks,
awesome.
Matt.
Oh,
Thanks,
Matt, yeah.
Oh,
Awesome.
Matt's awesome.
That'll get a shirt.
He's a hell of a brewer, man. I'll tell you that for sure. So, thanks, Matt. Also, we have one of our valuable listeners
Right.
that has just qualified for the
Sam
final round of
Adams,
the San
long
Adams
shot.
long shot. He's from Maine. What was his name?
Pete Malakowski.
Yeah. Thanks, Pete, for
He's an
and good luck
Grandfather
to
brewer.
you. Hopefully,
Pete.
Yeah, Grandfather brewer. Boy, that's a big shout out, right?
So that club member that was asking about quality of output on the grandfather.
There you
I
go.
think
There
that's
you go.
huge.
Because this
quality
is,
right
you're talking 3 people. Right now, there are 3 people
they're down
in
to 3
contention.
people. Man.
And voting ends tonight, I believe. And if you get on to samueladams.com/longshot, if you check out Pete Malakowski, he's going to be, I think he's actually in the lead right now. He's
Oh,
up in-
really?
up
Well,
in Maine, I
congrats,
think,
dude.
and-
Hopefully you can pull it out.
Good job, bro.
Sounds like he's got some pretty cool ideas that he wants to do.
Right, up in Maine. I think he said, I believe he did say Maine. Talk about his hometown, and a lot of businesses pulled out, and he's hoping to open some new business as a brewery.
Yeah,
or
awesome.
brewer. So.
Bring some economic viability back to his town, I
Yeah,
guess.
not only do they win that, they get their beer brewed, and they get some Siebel courses thrown in on that. So.
Awesome, man. Well, good luck to you, Pete. We hope the best for you, man. Hopefully you can make it out, make it to the top there, and give us a shout out. Maybe we can help you out with. Maybe we can formulate a beer kit with him or something.
Yeah, definitely.
That'd be kind of fun.
That'd be cool.
Cheers.
Yeah. So, anyway, also one of the other things too, if you guys are brewing, if you're brewing or you're buying from txbrewing.com, which is the whole reason that we do a lot of this stuff is, and not in addition just to drink beer and hang out and talk about home brewing, but
We don't drink here.
But
That's just his butt
you know,
plug coming out.
support the guys that support you and help you. And one of the reasons that we really wanted to start this show is because we wanted to help you brew better beer, and ultimately that's our MO here at TX Brewing. And if you do order from Texas Brewing, just make sure, give us a shout out. We have a little comments section, say, hey, I listened to you guys on the podcast. We really appreciate what you do. That goes a long way for us too. We like to hear from you. Also too, keep in mind, I said also too. Yeah.
Ding.
That's the first time I said it tonight, so give me a break.
Hashtag also too.
As you got me all flustered now. I can't remember what the hell I was saying.
You were saying also too.
I just keep in mind too. One of the things that what we do is we have a flat rate shipping program. Anything over $20 for the most part is $7.95. Now there are some restrictions. We can't ship Class Carboys to Maine for $7.95. It just doesn't work that way, But we do have a fast shipping. As long as you get it in by 4 p.m. Central, your order in by 4 p.m. Central Time, we typically have it to you the next day within Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico,
some of
Arkansas, some of Louisiana, and I think most of New Mexico. So, and if you in most of the other United States, unless you're in the farther outer reaches from Central Texas or middle from Texas, you're probably still going to be a 2 or 3 day ship. So, we're really lucky to be located here in Dallas-Fort Worth because we have really good shipping availability. Also keep in mind that over $50 is $4.95. Over $75, I think it's $2.95, and then over $125, your order is free as long as you don't ship some of those restricted items. So, just want to do that quick shout out because I think a lot of people don't really realize, the links that we go to make sure that happens for you guys. So, anyway, now we're going to talk about Golden Strong ales. I want to get off my platform here, but I tell you what would probably be the greatest thing to do, I think, is maybe you can maybe somebody can read. Somebody can read
that horse.
Let's beat it too.
No, we'll do more of that in future episodes.
Don't you worry.
Okay, the overall impression. Right?
Yeah,
the overall impression. Belgian Golden Strong Ale, which is category 25C, a pale, complex, effervescent, strong Belgian-style ale that is highly attenuated and features fruity and hoppy notes in preference to phenolics. Aroma, complex with significant fruity esters, moderate spiciness, and low to moderate alcohol and hop aromas. Esters are reminiscent of lighter fruits such as pears, oranges, and apples. Let's see. Appearance, yellow to medium golden color. Flavor, a marriage of fruity, spicy, and alcohol flavors supported by a soft malt character. Esters are reminiscent of pears, oranges, or apples. Low to moderately low phenols are peppery in character. A low to moderate spicy hop character is often present. Alcohols are soft and spicy and are low to moderate in intensity. Bitterness is typically medium to high from a combination of hop bitterness and yeast-produced phenolics. And a substantial amount of carbonation and bitterness leads to dry finish with a low to moderately bitter aftertaste. Comments on this: references to the devil are included in the names of many commercial examples of this style, referring to their potent alcoholic strength as a tribute to the original example, Duvel, which is on the table tonight. And it is, honestly, it is pretty much the best, I think, commercial example that I've had of it. So the best examples are complex and delicate, with high carbonation helping to bring out the many flavors and to increase the perception of a dry finish, often bottle conditioned or re-fermented in the bottle.
All right, so we had this big hash out earlier. What's the difference between this and a Belgian triple? And I think this is a really difficult thing for anybody to discern. I know.
Drink the Duvel, and then think about all the triples you've had. That's the only thing I could say. It's like
well,
that's the easiest.
and I think that listen to you read out the style guidelines. To me, that you hit on one thing. I never really paid much attention to this, but low in phenols,
right?
Whereas I think that's quite the opposite with a triple.
Well, they're definitely there. They're present.
Yeah, they're there, but I don't think you get that spiciness that you're going to get from a triple that you get from this. Also, I think when you were looking at the style guidelines, you also said that it may be a hint drier than what a triple is.
Much
stronger.
The Golden Strong is like 10.05 to 10.14, and the triple is 10.08 to 10.16 for final grind.
But the alcohol difference is not much difference.
7.5 on a Golden Strong. It was 7.5 to 10.5, and a triple was 7.5 to 9.5.
Wow.
So,
Okay, so now that we're drinking this Duvel, wow, that is really dry, even compared to the Perrot that we were drinking earlier.
I think another big difference between them is I feel like the Golden Strong is a lot more yeast driven.
Yeah.
Versus
Usually a little cleaner, I think, too, with the
a-
Abbey style cleanness.
Right. It's a clean yeast driven beer versus a triple is more malt driven. It's not as yeasty.
Well,
in most cases.
and that's I can see that, but I would say this, that to me, this tastes like a really strong, high alcohol beer that has just a hint of Belgian character. Does that make sense?
Right.
Almost like a Belgian blonde on steroids.
Super dry.
Sure.
Does that
Easy
make
to
you
drink.
get that?
Very dangerously easy to drink.
Yeah.
You
Oh
know,
yeah,
and then-
this tastes like a badass Budweiser.
'Cause
That's
if you think
that's
about the
10%.
Duvel, the thing that goes with that is like that's pretty much the style, and that's the one with the you see the devil on things and whatever. That's the thing they use, and that's where they're coming from most often is the Duvel. This thing, I mean,
It's good.
this is amazing. It's bright.
Well,
it's light
effervescent.
colored. Yeah, oh, yeah. It's
Got a
holding
Real
the
nice
attention.
rocky head.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you said a badass Budweiser because we've got here for the history. This was developed by the Duvel Brewery as a response after World War I, to the popularity of pilsners. So this
there you go.
is from that I would call this the Belgian pilsner.
The Belgian,
That's
Belgian.
good. Yeah.
The
Belgian badass.
Because it does
Pilsner.
have that soft malt character that comes with
It does have some hot bitterness, but I wouldn't say it was much as a Czech Pils or a Belgian or a German Pils
no.
or anything like that. I mean, you still get some hop character there, though. I think it's really good. So, but I digress. Now the Perrot to me had a lot more malt character,
Oh yeah.
and it also didn't taste quite as dry as this Duvel.
right.
I didn't
Wouldn't
try
you
it.
say that? Oh, you didn't have it?
Absolutely.
No.
It's definitely a lot more
Well,
sweet.
Yeah, that's
Well,
what
not
it
in
is.
here,
It also
so-
tastes
Okay.
old to
I'm
me.
good.
Little bit of papery oxidation. In
Yeah,
there.
that may be the case. I think we have another one. You want some, Mikey?
Sure, I'll have a little.
There you go. But anyway,
The Duvel's the stuff. That's
As
the
good as
one.
I'm being, I'll drink a little.
I think that's the best example we're
Just
going to
a
have on the
little bit.
table because it's out of all the styles. Every time you see someone really making a recipe, they're pretty much aiming at a Duvel.
damn it, man! I meant to get a Delirium, and I walked past it, and I was like,
Oh, the
I'll
Tremens.
come back. I'll come back and get that.
I think the Tremens probably has more flavor than the Duvel does
Yeah.
as far as
Yeah, I would
Belgian
say
yeast
too.
character.
It does, but I think the Duvel is a lot tastier overall. Because
I would
drank
say
it last
this.
night.
I think
Okay.
I think the
Yeah.
Duvel is probably more drinkable.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a little less malty maybe than the Delirium, but
Mhm.
I mean those are both fantastic freaking beer. Delirium's fantastic.
Yeah,
beer.
it is.
It really is. To me though, it's a lot more malty than this Duvel is.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if that's.
Well, I
just
think there's a
because-
lot
Yeah.
more yeast character in it by far.
That
compared to
Perrot's
this.
got like some caramelness. To
Yeah,
it.
it's
yeah.
a lot darker too. If
Yeah.
you actually saw the different, or is this made by the same company?
No.
Is it not?
Stein.
It's in the same
Ben
bottle.
Steenberg?
Steinberg. Yeah. So I'm gonna be over there, so I'll make sure to have some of these while I'm there. I can't
Don't have too
promise. I can't promise that I'll remember.
We should have
them.
saved this episode for you to bring back the actual good Trappist ales
Well, that's
from location.
That's not to say that I can't still do that. So, but like I said, make sure to follow me on Facebook on the Brendan Stubby Stubblefield page, because I'm just gonna be like broadcasting live just for the hell of it while I'm drinking these beers and telling you about them. So, make
Expect
sure to
shenanigans.
make sure to follow me on Facebook.
And
'cause I think
Rich
it's gonna be a
Roar
lot of
somewhere
fun.
around in the background running around in his
Yeah.
lederhosen.
Yeah. God, I hope
Do you
not.
think Jared will send him with a dick pumpkin?
Probably.
At least the cutout dick. I don't.
Yeah.
True.
Oh my goodness. So anyway, I mean, what? How would you go about brewing this versus a?
Nice.
Versus a triple? I mean, would it be a yeast choice? Would it be? I mean, because I would imagine.
They're really similar, I think, as far as when you look at the yeast selection, which like Y Yeast, Belgian Strong Ale, Belgian Ardennes, Belgian Abbey, Trappist High Gravity.
Same yeast you use for
Very,
triples.
yeah, very much so. But you might be a little like, I know Strong Ale's probably not as much a triple one, it seems like, as
Right.
the others are. White Labs, Belgian
Maybe
Golden Ale.
maybe yeast fermentation temperature could play a factor
Could
in
be.
that.
Yeah.
I think another thing that you'll see a lot of recipes for Golden Strongs with honey or some corn sugar, some.
Well, you definitely have
cane sugar
adjuncts added to this.
that are there to dry them out that the triples may or may not have.
Well, I would say most of my triples I've
Which
ever
is adding
brewed
that
has
extra
some
percentage or two.
adjuncts, but this may be something that may be the difference. You may have hit something there. Is that if I'm going to do a triple versus a Golden Strong, well, I might actually add a little more, adjuncts or corn sugar to make sure it does dry out
Right.
to where we're looking at. We've talked about this a million times over, and we'll harp on this and continue to harp on this. You've got to have the proper amount of yeast to make these beers properly.
Oh yeah.
And if you're actually not doing starters and stuff like that, make sure to use dry yeast. But I would say this is a style that I think requires a mixture of dry yeast. And what do you mean by that? Well, what do you mean by that? Well, you know what? You could probably get by. Wouldn't you say, Greg? You could probably do a Belgian Golden Strong with the BE 256.
Yeah.
I think that could work well with this style.
Oh, that's definitely going to make it a nice dry beer compared to, like, a triple's not as going to be as dry as this. I think it's pretty damn
Right.
close, but I don't. And we talked about that a little bit when we went over the triples.
Right.
I think that I would, like you said, you could use that for this, but I feel like you still want to maybe start with something else and then finish with that. Make that the dry out yeast.
We've done that, the blend with the T58, because the T58 will not ferment out maltotriose, but whereas the Abbey will. It'll eat all of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll dry the shit out of anything. So, and a lot of people ask me about that. Oh, I got this beer or whatever. I need it to finish out. And I'm like, put this monster in there.
I like that yeast. I just don't like it as a starter yeast. I like it as a
Right.
finisher.
Yeah,
Well-
I've had some problems with it being kind of hot and
Yeah.
actually, kind
Well,
of dry.
the flavor profile isn't as on as the other dry yeast that I think,
Right.
or even the liquids. But if you add it after you start one of the others that have the right flavor profile, that one is amazingly good as a finisher.
Right.
I'm going to digress for a quick second. We're going to talk about this in an entire episode devoted to some yeast. But we talk about pitching the right amount of yeast. And if you want to know just an easy ballpark figure, count on 4 million cells.
Million
Per-
or billion.
4 million, right?
Billion.
4
4
million.
4 billion per gravity point in specific gravity. So if you've got a 1056 beer, multiply 56 times 4, and you'll get how many billion cells you need. And each dry yeast pack is roughly 220 billion cells. So there's an idea of how to calculate that real quick. But like I said, we'll talk about that.
You gave me
in depth.
math, and now I'm confused.
Yeah.
Damn it.
But there's a quick one.
Oh man, yeah.
So-
So I mean, and those are things that you really, really need to focus on in this style. I think it is that you got to pitch the right amount of yeast, and even if you're using dry yeast, you got to look at it. And we kind of do this here.
These get pitched like lagers do. A
I
huge.
mean, if you think about
a lot of it, and one of the things that we try to, even with beginning yeast brewers, and even people that are experienced brewers, if you're going to use dry yeast, and I kind of go with this rule of thumb, if it's over 1055 or 1060, 1055, 1060 in that area, I always pitch 2 packs of dry yeast, because I don't think you're going to. It's like right there on that borderline, but that's kind of the rule of thumb I kind of go with, is anything over 1055, pitch 2 packs of dry yeast. Anything under that, I pitch 1. And you probably could get by with a 1060, 1065 with one package of yeast, but why not just pitch a second one? They're so cheap. You're $2 or $3, for a pack of yeast. And
or
you
even a
get-
dry yeast that's a follow up to your liquid
Yeah.
yeast precursor that gives you more of what you're initially wanting in that first day or so. I think that I do that a lot, actually. You know, when you know that something one is dominant is going to be dominant over the other, and for things like this especially, where you really, it's easy to pick something up that's after the fact, like the Abbey or whatever from the Seth Brew. You know, that thing.
Yeah,
is,
I mean that thing is a monster. I just don't think it doesn't have a whole lot of character to me.
yes, and that's the problem with it. There's not as much of the flavor profile you want that you might get at a T58, an Abbey Ale, Belgian Ale, whatever it is, Belgian Strong, even Abbey 2, all of those. I think they add, and though
Lot
even though
more
they're very
character.
clean for what they're almost like lager yeast, but they're like
Right.
the Belgian lager yeast. You know, they're very clean, but they still
Right.
apply something. Whereas that Abbey, man, it does some crazy shit, and then
Yeah.
it also produces a little bit of sulfur. I think that has to bleed off over time. You know,
Yeah.
but
these are beautiful beers.
kind of
we're
like a
drinking.
wine. You almost like it's almost like a wine yeast or something, or a
Mhm.
cider yeast. But
Well, and I think this is the thing that is kind of it frustrates me a little bit. These guys have been making these beers for hundreds of years, and they're getting harder and harder to find. And these are classic examples of this style. And I know you guys have gone out there and you probably had some commercial or local commercial examples that probably didn't taste very good. And
which is up next for us?
yeah, but and if you that's the thing is I hate to see these styles go away from your local area, because drink them because they're good and they're fantastic, and I wouldn't feel guilty about buying them in the least, because they're a classic example of these particular styles. And I would hope that all of our local breweries could aspire to make beers this good and this
Well,
well crafted.
Not
You know
just
what I mean?
that. Yeah, exactly. Because not just the fact to drink them for their local, but man, a Golden Strong Ale is freaking amazing. You know, it just happens to be that a triple is chosen more often because it's probably a little cheaper to make than, say, a Golden Strong Ale. It's a little faster to turn around, those kind of things.
Right.
But, like, if you go out and look at it, if you're not buying an import and it's local and it's a Golden Strong Ale, it's probably going to have a nice price range on it. It's going to be a big, fantastic beer. It's going to probably come in a bomber, and it's going to be your night. Maybe two of those for sure is going to be your night.
Absolutely.
And,
Well-
it's one of those things that, like, it kind of goes along with the quad, the dark strong, which is pretty much almost the same animal, but like this is the twin to the dark strong. It's the light version of what the dark
Right.
strong is, but like there's a lot less of the flavor character from the grains that the dark strong has. So,
Right, and there's been some argument and debate over that too, as to is a quad even dark? Because
Right.
I've even had people say, "Oh, a quad doesn't necessarily mean it's a darker beer."
Kind of like
So-
a big Bock. They can be golden.
right.
more or less,
So
you
those are some things to think about. But I would say some of the keys to brewing this particular style first is like we said, yeast. Second thing, have time and patience. You're not going to be able to brew this for your going away party that's 2 months down the road, or your buddy's birthday party that's 3 months down the road. I just don't think that this is a style that you can do that with.
No,
It's just
it needs time.
it requires
to settle.
time. Well, I mean, you can drink it, but it's going to taste like freaking rocket fuel. I mean, it just takes time for that alcohol
Well, it
to
even
melt.
might be
Do
good up
bells.
front, but it won't be as good as it would be 4 or 5 months from then, 6 months, 8 months. So
I don't know how long these duels been in bottles and condition, but they say it takes 90 days for them before they take it
even
out of the
yeah.
brewery.
Well, that's honestly, that is a really long time as far as breweries are concerned.
Yeah.
right,
I know that even what is it? The Russian Imperial Stout. I think it takes them 90 days to get that out to the old Rasputin. I think that's what I read.
right.
It was 90 days to get
That's
that
a
out.
really,
That's
really
really
fast
short,
turnaround for
yeah.
something like that. So
And I think even when you're on the homebrew scale, because you don't have all of these tools, all these labs, all these different
Or even
ways to do
cellars.
that, sellers, well, that's not your living to do that. So I think it typically takes a home brewer even longer than what a commercial brewery does.
definitely,
That doesn't mean
fresh
to say,
beers, totally different animal.
Mhm.
yeah,
Big ass, huge, high alcohol beers
Right.
that are delicate in nature. A lot longer.
Well, I mean,
so.
you can kind of look at it this way. This is kind of the way I equate it to, is that when you've got these big high alcohol beers like the Golden Strong that we're drinking tonight, is that you have to look at it as it's almost on par with wine. I mean, as far
Definitely.
as alcohol is concerned. So, well, why do you not drink wine early? Well, the reason being is because alcohol is hot. So you get that kind of whiskey, fusely alcohol type burn. And so what happens is that kind of covers up all the other flavors that are there. So over time, as that alcohol starts to mellow, all these other beautiful flavors come up to the forefront, and that really alcohol harshness kind of goes away.
Yes.
So that's one of the things. Even in wine, you kind of experience the same thing. You get all this in wine,
Especially
you
in
get this,
reds.
yeah, you get this
Big time.
real weird fruity tartness that kind of in alcohol hotness, and then even if it's a real oaky wine, you don't even taste that.
Suddenly
up front.
that 6th month or 8th month, you're like, oh my God, this has
Yeah,
changed
look,
so much.
oh my God, you can taste the oak. All the tartness, weirdness has gone away, and all the get all these beautiful bouquets and stuff like that. So, same thing with beer. I mean, it just
Yep.
takes time. I don't think, and these beers age well, and this is one of the great reasons that you can go and pick this up more than likely. Even a Duvel, even if it's kept on the shelf. It's probably, even if it's a year or 2 years old, it's probably still going to be pretty damn good.
Yeah.
So they age well. Most of them are bottle conditioned, so they have low to no oxygen.
I think Duvel gets a good turnover too.
Yeah,
'cause
I
people
think you
know
do.
that it's a good beer.
and it's kept in the cooler too,
Yeah.
whereas a lot of these other beers probably aren't. So that's something to think about too. When you're actually selecting these beers, if you can, if it's got. I have little to no problem picking up a big 10, 11, 12% alcohol Belgian beer that's bottle conditioned, that is sitting on the shelf and it's got dusty stuff on it.
Right.
No,
A lot of them are that way.
And I'm okay with that because a lot of them taste pretty damn good still.
Yeah.
So you kind of feel like you have a pretty good option there.
Well, you're
And
more
beca-
likely to get a good beer out of that than you would out of the one that's 8%.
Right.
Or 6%.
And and the thing is a lot of these old style Belgian breweries, not Duvel, of course, but the ones that have the old cork and cage and stuff. A lot of these guys, what they're doing is they're bottle conditioning, and one of the big benefits of bottle conditioning is low oxidation levels. So, I mean, that's the whole reason. If you guys are out there and don't know this, Sierra Nevada bottle conditions all of their cans and bottles. Now they've got it down to such an absolute science that it's purely just a layer over the top of the bottom of the can or like a micro fine layer, but they've got it down to such a science that it's it helps them with shelf life. It helps them with transportation, everything. So because they have all the oxygen gone. So
I didn't know you could condition in a can. I
Yes,
didn't know
you
anyone
can.
did
They
that.
do that.
you can, yes. It's pretty
really
awesome
interesting.
though. And we talked about this in a previous episode. One of the things I did with the triangle test was I always told everybody that Sierra Nevada Pale Ale always tastes better in a can. In a bottle.
Mhm.
And the cans suck and blah, blah, blah. And we did a triangle test and nobody could tell the damn difference. So evidently I don't know what I'm talking about. So
It's subjective.
It's very subjective.
But anyway, those are some keys to actually brewing the style and brewing the style well. And I think those are things that you really need to focus on when you're making this beer. In regards to the difference that you might look at, maybe you mash a little lower than what you would on a Belgian triple. Maybe add some more adjuncts.
More adjuncts, I think, is going to be part of this.
And I would be willing to bet
probably
you
the more
might
Abbey
want to
style
ferment
used.
a little cooler than
Yeah.
what you would with a Belgian triple. And the reason I would say that is kind of reserve some of those. Well, I don't know though. Would you maybe want to make it warmer than a Belgian triple? I don't know.
Does this use the same water profile as a triple does?
Yes. Yeah, it would be relatively similar. So, but those are different things to really consider too. So, if you are using this particular water, I would imagine you're probably going to want to use pretty clean water too. I haven't actually looked up water profiles for Belgian Golden Strong, but
Well, it
I would
says
imagine
here
it's pretty close.
Soft.
Soft, yeah.
So, like a Pilsner. Again,
Like a Pilsner, yeah.
you're coming back to that Pilsner concept. You're going to be using like an all Belgian Pils. Did we cover them all? Because
No, we
I went
didn't.
and grabbed some local beers out of the fridge. Sorry.
This tastes old.
Some all
Not the local one. The triple
like Belgian
hop.
pills. I
Perot.
mean, German pills will work, I'm sure, but the concept there is that again, it's going to be mostly pills. There's not really going to be much else into this.
If you use anything, it's going to be just a hint of light caramel, maybe.
Light, if that's an if,
That's
because
like
I mean,
a 10
you're
or
still
less.
drawing this back even
Yeah.
a notch from Pilsner malt with just your adjuncts. I mean, which is going to be more likely the Belgian candy sugar, not corn sugar.
Right.
Belgian candy sugar, maybe sucrose, maybe.
Maybe
But
some. Maybe
I would
some
say
carapils or dextrose.
That's probably
dextra
something that
malts,
you'll
yeah.
see a difference there too. Is more of the invert sugar instead of table sugar.
This says Pilsner malt with substantial sugary adjuncts.
Yeah.
Sauser type hops or Styrian Goldings are commonly used. Belgian yeast strains are used, those that produce fruity esters, spicy phenolics, and higher alcohols, often aided by slightly warmer fermentation temperatures.
There you go.
Fairly
Yeah.
soft water.
That'll keep
Spicing-
the phenols
right.
down, right?
Spicing not traditional, if present, should be background character only.
Where and even kind of says that even on the Belgian triple, I think on the spice wise. There's
They're
only
very similar.
very similar. I would say you probably more likely have spices in triples than you would in
Right.
a Belgian Golden Strong. So, what do we got next?
Let's
Greg?
see. I'm checking
got-
out some of our locals here. I wanted to
Okay.
find out about one of them here.
Okay, this is the
Wood Creek
Forefathers. This is supposed to be a Belgian
Okay.
Golden.
No, it's not. Okay. Strong dark. I was looking at it, I was like, when we poured it, I was like, that's pretty amber. So,
Oh, okay. It says Belgian
Yeah.
Strong Ale. That's why I bought it.
but I
thought
do
it-
know that the Whole Lang Syne from Rabbit Hole. Cheers! Shout out to Rabbit Hole. Whole Lang Syne has got additions to it more so. It's like here's a Golden Strong that's got something added, and then of course, which a lot of people will know this, the brewery out of well, not Los Angeles, Orange County, I guess. Is it? I don't know, whatever town that is. That's it's not Los Angeles, but it's right at the edge of whatever that they're in.
Come on, Zach.
Belgian Golden style, golden and hoppy.
When you're
That's
the only
pretty close
person
to
not
that.
From Texas.
Yeah, somewhere around L.A. You don't know where that's at? Didn't you grow up out there? Orange County is. He knows where Orange County is. So. It's close to
All I
LA.
remember is going to the brewery, and it's not that far off from Disneyland. So Anaheim, then. All right, close enough because it seemed like a few streets, a few miles. I would say, well, I will say right
That's a
off
good-
that the Wood Creek's
that's
a
actually a
good
pretty
beer.
good
Yeah,
beer, yeah.
that's a good beer. It's
don't
not,
know if
it's
I
not
would
in the
class-
right territory because it doesn't feel like a full dark strong. It feels like an in between.
Yeah, it's kind of in between. It's not quite a double. It's not quite a dark strong. It's not quite a whatever. But I mean, it's kind of in between a golden strong and a dark strong. I would
Right.
say, but
Right.
or a quad. It's good. It's tasty, and this may be similar to more of a English, or I mean not English, more of a non-traditional style. I mean, a lot of the Belgian styles that you get, a lot of times you can't really classify them. They're just kind of out there, They're
Well,
kinda,
especially the American versions.
Yeah.
We're just trying shit. Don't see what sticks,
Yeah.
more or less.
Is that what we're doing now? Just trying shit.
Trying shit and seeing what sticks. That's what That's what Americans do, man. We're really good at that because we
Yeah.
find a lot of shit that sticks. So
Yeah.
It's important to have good
Sticky
walls
shit.
that will hold things too.
And make sure you have good toilet paper. For
it's
sticky,
just closer.
for
I
sticky
think.
shit.
for
apparently.
sticky shit.
So
yeah.
far, Duval's still the answer as far as this
Mm-hmm.
goes, and out of every one I've ever had, Duval's still been the top one. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just perfect.
Yeah,
I've
I
had
mean,
a lot of different triples that are like, oh, well, these are good, but
But I mean, if you were at a football game or a baseball game in the middle of, or in summertime in the middle of, and they just handed you a cup of this
the Duval,
Duvel, you would drink it and you would be face down.
Oh yeah.
I
Very
mean,
quickly.
sounds like a good plan.
Challenge
You can ask my
accepted.
wife; she'd be like, "Oh, well, he doesn't really want to be there most of the time."
I'm just saying that would be a great beer to have at a sporting event, but
It sneaks up on you.
a 22 ounce, big ass
Oh my god.
plastic cup
22
of
ounces
that.
of Duval.
But
That would
Drink
be
2
the
or 3.
smallest beer they sell, and it would be the most expensive small glass of beer
Costs
that
you
they've
40
ever bought.
bucks.
Yeah,
$40 for a 22 ounce.
Pretty much.
I'm going to go 50
this
or
is like
60.
double and the smaller glass. So just enjoy. Drink it slowly.
Yeah.
Let it
So-
warm up, I guess, because that's all you're going to get.
Hey, the Rangers games are not too bad. Like $12 for a craft beer.
We're gonna
Like
have
a
to stamp
16
you
ounce-
after 2 of
16
these.
ounce, right? But no, Jerry World's a little different story. Yeah. That place out there is
Isn't it
higher than
like-
cat's back.
$25 for a Bud Light.
Yeah, something like that.
What
It's
did
dumb.
you just say?
15.
15,
Jerry
I think.
World,
Is
ridiculous.
no, that's not what you said. What was
What did I
that?
say? I didn't hear it.
Did you say higher than a cat's back?
Yeah, it's higher than a cat's back.
Okay, so I think that's the first time I've heard that.
I
Okay.
think that's an
Just checking.
18th century term, isn't it?
Yeah, I got lots of. I got lots of those. If you want to hear them, lots of
Living
them.
in the 18th century.
Well, I grew up in West Texas, so you know, same
thing.
difference.
Now we also have an epic smoked and oaked Belgian style ale, and this is a problem.
Yeah,
Is when you find these beers, I'm questioning the Parat that's on the table because that's the classic example style. But when we're
Right.
opening it and drinking it, it is nowhere near what Duvel is, what we have right here. But there's nothing else on our label as far as that goes. So is
Right.
that the style that we're talking about, or are we
The
misled by what is the American branding is? You know,
on
what
the
we're getting on shelf?
BJCP,
BJCP just says Parat,
right?
Parat, whatever. And
I'll tell
Parat?
you, I went to one of the local beer gardens and said, "Hey, I'm supposed to be talking about these three."
Were you
this
talking
type
about
of beer."
medieval times?
No.
Oh, okay.
Ginger Man.
Oh, Ginger Man. Okay.
But
Well,
I
no,
said,
yeah.
I spoke to their most knowledgeable bartender and said, I'm supposed to be knowing about Belgian Golden Strongs tomorrow. What do you
Okay.
have? And they said, we have Duvel, we have Delirium, and we have Parat.
Delirium was
I
a good one, yeah.
I suggest you
Yeah,
drink them
Deli-
in that order, or else you're going to have a bad time.
Well, there you go.
You probably were face down anyway.
Was
but-
was the Parat the same
was-
SRM? Did it look like that poured? Because that's a very
It
dark
looked,
version.
It looked the same poured, except the one they had on tap there was on draft for one instead of in bottles, and it was rum aged.
Oh, okay.
rum barrel aged? Okay.
But
And
do you feel like it had the same character otherwise if you took away the rum barrel age?
Yes.
Okay.
It was still that strong, that malty.
Those are
that
vastly
dark
different beers.
flavor. and-
Duvel and Parat.
so after you had the
Fascinating.
rum barrel aged Parat, were you out going? I
I-
want to conquer the booty.
No, I actually had to send that half that glass back.
Oh,
It was
really?
undrinkable. It was too strong a rum flavor. It was
That's what I would
a
have been doing.
hot rum flavor to it.
Surrender the booty.
And that's what we were yelling last weekend, dressed as pirates.
Okay.
But going back to it, is that if you're going to drink examples, the Duvel is the lightest of all the flavors.
Oh.
The Delirium's a little bit more malty, and the Parat's very malty by comparison. And it's
Was that
you
the
can't
brainless on
taste
cherries?
anything afterwards.
No, this
what
is, not to interrupt, smoked and oak Belgian style ale from Epic. I'm not really sure on this one because of the color, but like this honestly,
Wow. That's
Zach,
really,
can you see this? This is almost the same color as the Parat that we poured.
Yeah, it is.
It's very close to the SRM,
Maybe a hint darker.
and it has a very nice light body to it. It's got, I think you can definitely get the alcohol notes and whatnot, but this is good. I enjoy this.
It's got floaty bits in it.
It's probably bottle condition.
Yeah, I enjoy that. For being
I don't-
smoked and oaked,
I don't get a lot of smoke in the nose.
taste it. It's still minimal.
I don't
but
even really get a whole lot of oak in it, actually.
the oak's in the flavor.
The last of their experimental series I had was their green apple
pretty solid.
saison.
That's tasty.
That's
dude.
really
That's
tasty.
really
Yeah.
tasty. I like that.
It
It's
was-
pretty sweet, though.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of caramel character. Or maybe
Yeah.
not caramel, but it's
The
got a lot
sweetness
of malt
makes me
character.
think more in terms like, was this a
A
golden
triple?
strong or closer to triple?
Triple, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know,
I smell the oak.
I don't get much smoke at all.
I get
Okay.
it. It's all around the edges.
It's
an
very-
envelope for the
it's-
rest of
It's
it.
very, very subtle. If it's there,
I think it's
Which
well
is
done.
nice.
Yeah.
very nice. Well done.
They're on the
Maybe-
finish, kind of a
It's like a dry after.
Yeah. So if you can get Epic,
flavor.
this is a fantastic little beer. Try that out.
epic.
I'm-
That's that can't be a dark strong.
No, this is
No.
not a dark strong. No way. No way. Like I said, it's either a trip. I don't
Did
know.
you-
I'd say
did you
maybe
look
maybe
up
it
on
is
their
Golden
website?
Strong.
Did you
Not
look
that
up-
one. No, I haven't looked
Okay.
that one. I looked the others up. The funny thing is that you drink a little bit of Duvel afterwards, It's like a nice, refreshing, mouth cleansing, light
Palate
beer.
cleanser.
Yeah, it is. Honestly,
Yeah.
that's what's so good about it.
Well, it's dry, but it's not so dry that it's like, like astringent.
Yeah,
or
like it's hard.
like harsh
Yeah.
or whatever. So those are things to think about. But I mean, I think this is a really good rendition of using this particular style. I like the smoke and a little bit of oak. I think it's
a
nice.
minimal amount of both.
Yeah,
really.
they're very little. I mean,
Because you got to think, okay, if you want to go and oak something like this, which I imagine has been done many times over, even over the years for just storage capacity. Think about what the alcohol in this beer is going to do in the first place, even without carbonation.
yeah,
without
you
serious
get a little bit
carbonation.
of that vanilla character
It's
in the
going to
finish for
definitely
sure.
pull it out of the wood. It's going to pull all the oak character
Well,
out.
one of the best beers I ever brewed, and I still talk about this beer to this day, and I haven't made it since, but I did a Belgian triple that I aged on oak cubes or oak beans. And then I finished it with Brett. And man, let me tell you, that was a fantastic beer. It was just like you kind of got that little bitty funky character. You got a hint of oak, and then you still had all those beautiful things you get from a triple. And man, I tell you what, I need to make that beer again. That was really good. It only took about 4 months to really get the Brett character that I was looking at too. So
Okay, so this was brewed 3/12/14. It was packaged 7/7/14.
wow,
It's got Pilsner malt, Maris Otter, Cherrywood smoke malt, Caramel 60, Demerara rough cut candy, and barley flakes. And it's got Pearl, Sterling, and Tettnang. And it's aged in whiskey barrels.
so you said they brewed it in 2014
That was brewed in, according to
to the bottle.
that release. Yeah,
That's 2014.
It's 2014.
And when did they package it?
7/7/2014.
Wow.
That's a good beer for that date. Oh,
It's
that's
3
a
years
really
old?
good beer date.
Yeah.
That thing has
'Cause
held
you'll-
up.
Well, it makes me wonder if some of that smoke hadn't dropped out of there.
Probably.
Yeah,
If that's
yeah.
the case, then it's gotten even better, though.
Yeah.
So if you've been aging this and
Well, and it's the
you haven't tried
Cherrywood
it yet,
smoke.
that's fantastic.
So the Cherrywood's a
Yeah,
lot
it's so
softer.
soft,
and
yeah.
It's very mellow, and I think everything else in there, the whiskey barrel aging, all that's going to mellow that out.
Yeah, so those are all things to consider when you're actually taking this style and you're trying to make it yourself and you want to do something fancy or different. First, make sure that you nail the style before you start adding a whole bunch of crap to
Definitely.
it. We talk about that
We
nonstop.
talk about
So
it all the time. Learn the style first.
so
Yeah.
I'm going to take a quick break.
I will say the next thing that we're going to
The
pour,
bathroom
which is the
falls.
last thing we really have for tonight to pour, is that's
God.
within the range. Yeah, a minute ago when I opened this beer, Chris is looking at me, kind of giving me that hands down, like slow it down, slow it
slow down a
down.
little
I'm getting scared.
See, that's why I'm staying sober.
Take your foot off the accelerator there, please.
Pump the brakes, bro. Pump the brakes.
Well, this one is definitely a Golden Strong Ale. It's from Rabbit Hole. Whole Lang Syne. I'm not sure what age this is. Can you read the number on the side of that, Chris?
It's
There's some
1765 of 2017.
I believe it's blackberries and
Raspberries.
Raspberries.
I think that's right.
The two, right, mixed together.
It's right there on the bottom of the label, Chris.
Yeah, I was looking for a brewed on date.
You know all those letters
Yeah.
arranged.
Brewed on.
What? Yeah, brewed with blackberries and raspberries.
Blackberries and raspberries. If you what I will say about
And there's
this
no
beer,
color from them
it's
either.
it's
you know.
fantastic. It's dry. It's easy to drink, just like they should be. And you take a sip of this, and then you take a sip of Duvel. If you got some Duvel over there, take a sip of that after the fact and see how close they are.
We don't.
I just want to kind of hit back on a point, that we were talking about that earlier on the smoked and oaked, Belgian Golden Strong, whatever. If you decide you want to age or barrel age, you have to remember what wood you use, because it's the size of the wood that counts.
God,
I knew that was
the
coming.
smaller
I'm leaving.
the smaller your wood is, the shorter you got to keep it in there. So like chips, you make sure that you
If you've
leave
got
it in
big
there
wood,
for shorter.
you can leave it for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's
And
what they
so it
want.
is the size that matters. So just keep that in
Definitely
mind.
size matters.
Yeah. I'm just telling you, wood counts.
He's been hanging on to that all night long.
No. Did you guys drink the brewery, the Mischief? I hadn't had this yet. So
Yeah.
it says it's golden. Good God. What the hell is that noise?
Trying to get
My-
a cup.
Jesus Christ.
And I'm getting Zach back for wrinkling his damn burrito.
Yeah, well, the listeners can't hear him eat the burrito.
No, but I could.
It looked delicious. It made me hungry. But y'all are drinking the Old Lang Syne?
Whole Lang Syne.
Okay, so this is the Rabbit Hole.
And
This
I
is
gave
the
you
brewery?
a duvel
Wow.
to try against it.
This is the brewery that's just here north of us in Dallas-Fort Worth. We also have one of their professional beer kits. If you haven't tried that yet,
The Rapture.
the Rapture,
Oh my God,
it's fantastic. It's kind of a fusion between an American and English brown ale.
You'll be
It's,
happy with it. Every time.
Everybody out of state that's ever brewed this, they call or send us emails and tell us how fantastic
They
love
send
this
them
beer.
emails.
They send them emails
Yeah.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they send a rabbit hole. Even.
Yeah, so that's so check that out if you get a chance. Those guys were on the podcast last time
week.
around. So truly, these are the biggest homebrew nerds.
Episode
you'll-
93, which
Yeah,
actually was
yeah.
not 93, but was 93. Yeah.
It's labeled 93, but it was.
But,
96.
Counting is hard.
These guys were
Sometimes, yes.
Yeah, these guys
1,
are
2,
truly-
7.
9.
If you truly want to,
Three more,
I mean, honestly, these guys are the biggest homebrewing nerds on the planet. They're fantastic. They know their shit, and
They are truly homebrewers that opened a brewery.
Yes.
Yes, they
Yes,
are.
they are.
Exactly.
And that's trying to what I was.
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to say nerds, but maybe
Oh,
a
they're
little.
nerds.
Oh, man. they're-
Well, around here, it's Hop Fusion. That's the next person. That's the next group I can think of. That's like they have that much passion and concern for what's
Yeah,
going on.
yeah.
So yeah,
Well, and they're brewing different stuff all the time, and it's not like I mean, so it's truly they really try to support the homebrewing community too. So we want to support them too. So
yeah.
they
This-
haven't forgotten where they came from. I
This-
guess is the biggest thing I'm trying to say.
Right.
Not at all. No.
The beer that we have on the table from them is very much a special release. It's an annual. I think it's going to continue to be an annual.
Yeah, I think they
And
only do 2017
It's
bottles.
meant for aging. It's meant for whatever. It's a good beer. I remember the first release, and then having this right now tonight with the Duvel next to it. I was just thinking, man, this is so good. This is probably the best thing I've had on the table, other than the Duvel. So
Well,
we
we
have
should
good
have asked.
beers here.
We should
Damn you, rabbit hole.
we should have asked them how to make this. Damn it! Last time they were on, episode 9064, whatever.
7.
11-3.
1123.
53.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it was. Sorry for you guys. I got confused with that. I was even confused. I didn't realize we skipped one and then went 2 ahead and then went 1 back, or it was
Well,
almost like the Texas
we had
2-step.
some- yeah, we
2
had some
steps
issues
forward,
with,
1 step back.
File
The
naming.
Cotton Eye Joe.
That kind of blew it out of the water. I've been a little distracted too.
Okay, so
No.
I thought they barrel aged this as well. Did they not?
Read it. I'm not sure. I just know about
Didn't see
the.
anything about barrels on the label.
I know about like they added fruit to this, which I think adds an extra dimension that
Wow,
adds a
I had-
heavier body.
I hadn't had this version.
Yeah.
This is really good.
It's
dude.
really good. Yeah.
I wasn't that big a fan last
If you're in
year, but
Texas,
this is
pick it up.
fantastic. They still had 4 bottles on the shelf.
Yeah, I've been finding this locally. That's why I
which-
mentioned it. I was like,
like,
this
this
is
was-
out
Where to get
there.
this
So
from?
This was bottle 1765 of 2017.
I could.
I got
use
this
a
at
little less
Goody Goody
fruit.
on East Chase in Arlington.
Right,
and there were
So-
some in the specs on Hewlin and Brian Irvin.
Yeah,
and
this was-
Total Wine
this was specs.
on
Yeah,
Hewlin.
I don't think there are going to be bottles left.
Yeah, if you haven't gone and gotten
Tomorrow,
this
Chris
locally,
is going to go buy all of them,
yeah,
and
it's really good.
You guys are
Wow.
all screwed.
Yeah, they did a great job on that. So
Dude, this is one of those, Chris, you could actually put away
Yeah,
and hold on to for a couple of years at least. You know,
Unlike
it
the
would
Russian
work.
Imperial that I served y'all last week.
What?
well, and this is what's really
No.
strange, man. On this bottle that they have here, it doesn't even like their logo is like minuscule. I mean,
I know.
I wonder
You
what that
wouldn't
was
even know
about.
that's their
That
thing.
it just has this big saying on the front. It says, "It's wondrous in Wonderland on New Year's Eve when the King of Hearts proclaims that the celebration began with the glasses raised of his own enchanted potion, a Belgian strong ale brewed with blackberries and raspberries. And now all of us on the side of the looking glass can share the magic of bringing in the new year. A special toast of whole H-O-L-E, Lang Syne 2017.
You know, honestly,
So
I think
you just
that
read that and you realize.
if you go back to some of our rabbit hole episodes, I feel like there's an explanation of that. And I feel like I could be wrong, but something is just right in the back of my brain saying like that they said something about they want the beer to speak for itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
So,
get
and
that.
it definitely
That's a damn good
shouts
beer.
it
Yeah.
out. So
Damn good beer. Cheers.
compared to a
guys.
lot of, you know, like, hey, check me out, look at this, try it. You know, this is
No,
just some
this
nice
is-
silver label. Like you would pass right by it. I knew what it was when I saw it, and I thought, oh, I should get that. And then tonight we were doing what we were doing, and I knew what it was. And I thought, hey, if there's one out there and you can find it, get it. You know, and we got it, and it's fantastic.
It's
Yes,
amazing.
yes, it is.
We're not
Well-
just saying that.
No,
we
no, it
definitely
really
don't
is
do
good.
that.
No, we don't.
In fact, pass me some more of it if somebody's not done
yeah.
with it. I mean,
Well, and that's the thing is and you guys will know too that if we don't prop people up, if we truly give people,
exactly.
we truly give you our honest opinion when we're tasting these beers, just because we know these guys. If they didn't do a great job of it, we wouldn't say it was great. I'm just saying. But anyway, we talked a lot about the brewing practices and stuff like that. I mean, do you have any kind of further comments?
This was kind
on-
of like our last Belgian episode where singles and blondes. It's really straightforward.
yeah, it is.
It's very basic recipes. It's a lot about your yeast handling and taking
Yeah.
care of the beer and making sure that you get in the right range.
right.
And if anything, aiming at something, maybe a specific commercial brand or something. Like Brewing Classic Styles, as far as I know it, the recipe in there for Golden Strong is based off Duvel
Okay.
for a good reason.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Yeah, of course.
And it's one of those things that like just aim to take care and maintain so that you get the best beer out of it. It's the same with the triple.
Right.
It's just the more refined version, I think. Of
Well, and I think one of the things too, and you reminded me of something because I think this is really important. There's been a lot of debate out there over this, but this is kind of the way I look at it: is that the adjuncts that you different experiments with some of these different beers. And we talked about this a lot when we did that quad episode. That I did Drew and Denny.
right,
I guess it's their West Valletta and Cologne,
right.
which is a Belgian quad, and it's 100%. It's a 100% Pilsner malt. That's it. And then you just use the
Dark candy sugar.
D180
Yeah.
dark candy sugar. And I always thought that you got all of these dark candy or these raisin, dark fruit, plum character, that you got that from like the Special B and some of that. That's what I was thinking you were getting that character from. But really, it was the candy sugar. So I think those are things to consider. But
You thought
What-
it was malt.
yeah, I thought
More
it was
than-
malt
yeah.
driven more so than it was the candy sugars and stuff. And that only even goes even further, even in these really, these styles like Duvel or the Golden Strongs. And what I say by that is, think about this: these are high alcohol beers, and that you have to really consider the adjuncts that you're using and when you use them even. So there's lots of different techniques out there to consider when you're making these styles of beers, because a lot of people feel like you need to start the fermentation and then add the simple sugars
Right.
after fermentation. So, or during
least during
fermentation,
primary, yeah.
during your primary fermentation,
Maybe 2 days later.
basically feeding. And we had Grant Wood on a long time ago on an episode about 2 years ago, and he was responsible for making the Sam Adams Utopias. And he said that was really important when you're making these higher alcohol beers, is that don't want to spoil them. Basically, you give them all of these different, these really easily fermentable sugars. For example, dextrose is the easiest fermentable sugar for yeast, right? So if you're doing these particular styles, and I guess the biggest mistake I see a lot of home brewers make is they use, cane sugar. And I know I'm going to get a lot of hate mail for this, but you have to look at it from this standpoint, and this is the way I look at it: is table sugar is a disaccharide. So it has two molecules that are they're bonded together. Well, in order for the yeast to consume that, they have to break that band. They have to use some energy or ATP in order to,
which causes waste.
Yeah. Well, it causes energy. You have to use energy in order to do that. Well, if you want the yeast to be non-stressed and stuff like that, well, you feed them something like corn sugar, which is a monosaccharide. It's only one cell.
Single chain.
They can just come in and consume it. They don't have to use any energy to consume that. So those are things to really consider. So I would highly suggest, if you're going to use any kind of sugar, if you're not going to make candy sugar, or you can take table sugar, and we can talk about that in another episode about how to.
We actually should just talk about the sugars,
how you can
sugars.
How you can actually use some citric acid and make it more utilizable by the yeast. You can do that. You can do that. It's really easy, actually. The problem is if you caramelize it, however, then you're going to have a lot of residual sugar left over. So, but those are things to consider when you're doing these styles. Is when you're going to put the sugar in, what kind of sugar are you going to use, and I think that's probably more important in these high alcohol Belgian styles than any other style of beer.
Right.
So, I think those are things to really consider when you're making a style.
What you're saying about that, I agree too with the idea of adding something like the simple sugar early in the fermentation versus, say, at the end of the boil. But however, I think most recipes honestly are written to make it easier on the brewer and to say, hey, add it when you turn your flame off and mix it in really good. Right?
I've had great luck doing both.
I think it'll work. What we need to do is an experiment that tests that flavor range with the same yeast, same recipe, all the rest, but one was added during the end of the boil, maybe at 5 minutes at the end, and then at day 2 of primary fermentation or whatever, that kind of thing.
I think we'd have to do like a 10-gallon batch and split the actual batch out between the two to make. I don't know.
I think it will make a difference. I can say that based off of the beers that I made recently for the Riverside Shootout, where I did a test batch, I did another batch. I had teammates, Pete, do the same, where we added our simple sugars in.
It was completely different.
Yeah,
oh my God!
But dude, I guarantee you, those would have tasted different had we added that stuff all of the sugar that we added in right at the end of the boil. Yeah, that'd have been so much simple sugar that the yeast would have totally devoured that first and made a whole different beer. It'd been hot and nasty and weird. Yep. And I guarantee you, it was much more flavorful.
Just a shout out to you guys, man. That beer y'all made was freaking fantastic.
Thanks.
I liked all the versions, but Pete's, man, it was out of this world, dude. And what exactly was the beer?
The only difference was that I used Piloncillo.
Well, tell
which
people
was
what
like
the beer
more of a
that you made was.
molasses-y character.
Yeah.
It was a big, like Imperial Brown, and then we made an Imperial Brown, and then we added 2 different kinds of sugar to see what would happen. Because my initial idea was to add Demerara, or Demerara, whatever it is. And I did the Piloncillo because that's what I had the first time around.
Okay.
And I gave him that one. And so, we tried to do different versions, and I found that, the Demerara was a nice, lighter flavor that passed faster, whereas, the Piloncillo was... And they're both fairly... they're unrefined, but they're closer to simple sugar than,
Well, they're partially unrefined or partially refined sugars, right?
Right.
So you still have a lot of molasses type character in it. Yeah.
Piloncillo, a whole lot more molasses, a whole lot more body.
Okay.
Demerara, a lot less of that.
Okay.
So one left it cleaner, and the other one left it stronger flavor.
Okay.
And after that, we added coconut and some rum, oak,
Oh,
that kind of
man,
thing.
It was
So
really good.
yeah, it worked out.
It really did.
But I will say that the Demerara, after trying it, I thought, oh man, this is so good this way. And then I tried his, and I thought, oh, it just, you take the sip, and it immediately is like it cleans itself away. It's not like lingering and too much. Like you know, it's not too heavy. And
Well,
that was perfect.
And you
so.
know that's something that you hit on there, and I think this is really important because I think a lot of times people they really get hung up on the word adjunct, and I think a lot of that is that people get hung up on this word adjunct because they're thinking about that adjunct laden lagers like your your corn and rice lagers, your BMC or Bud Miller Coors. And whereas, when you're talking about these big high alcohol beers, they really add something to the I mean, when you're talking about BMC, they're using them because it's a cheap source of alcohol,
Right.
really. I mean, they're using these as alcohol filler because malt is expensive, corn and rice is cheap, and they can make alcohol with this. And typically when you and this is the truth, man. When you add adjuncts in most cases, not including oats, it lightens the body, adds alcohol.
Right.
So. But
Really.
when you're talking about these particular types,
Zach.
when you're talking about these kind of beers like the Belgian, Golden Strong, is that you've got to really consider what adjuncts you're using and how they affect your beer.
Right.
So now I would never add rice or corn into my my Belgian Golden Strong to add alcohol because they also add a little bit of flavor. But you have to remember that
You're still adding sugars.
You're still adding
Yeah.
sugars. So I think those are a big, important part of making different types of beer styles. But
So
the reason I was
you might
saying,
be.
the reason I was getting into that whole adjunct thing is that, when you're using adjuncts, I think the Belgians do it the best because if let's say if we just made 100% all malt beer,
Right.
well, we're going to get something like a barley wine. It's sweet. It's highly. A lot of times it's hoppy, but I would say more often than not, barley wines are cloyingly sweet, right?
Right.
So by adding these adjuncts, what we do is we're able to get a 10, 12, 11, 12% alcohol beer, but it's easy to drink. It lightens the body.
It drops the finishing gravity down.
So it
by a
allows
few
you,
notches,
exactly. So allows you to have a well-balanced high alcohol beer that's easy to drink.
Right.
Whereas if you're drinking a barley wine that's 100% malt, no adjuncts, it's hard to drink because it's so syrupy and sweet.
Right.
So that's the reason that you add adjuncts.
A Golden Strong would be a totally different animal if all you did was Pilsner malt and Abbey yeast and whatnot and really just took care of it. It's not going to be the same thing without the simple sugars and whatnot.
Definitely not.
To knock it down.
It'd be
to where
pretty
it needs
sweet,
To be. Yeah,
really.
it would. It would definitely have too much malt, too much sweetness, too much mouthfeel. All of that would be there. So
Yeah, so you're actually using these sugars in these styles like Belgian quads, Belgian, Golden Strongs, Belgian triples to make the beer leaner, easier, and
leaner's a
lighter.
good term for that.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
just easier to drink. I mean,
Lean and mean. These are
Yeah,
definitely
yeah,
those
for
beers,
sure. So all of that gobbledygook that I was talking about earlier.
That's a technical term, by the way.
Yeah, is
It's
it?
a brewing tech term is
Okay.
gobbledygook.
Stubbyism.
Yeah, it's those things. The reason I was going into that is because I think it's so important for this particular style. Any of the high alcohol Belgian styles, and that's even what we talk about in our classes is that, we are talking about adjuncts, and I always think the Belgians. I mean, man, the Belgians do it the best. They really know how to use.
They
their
work it
adjuncts.
so well.
Yeah,
So
the Belgians do it
Belgians
the
do it
best.
best.
Yeah, it's a bumper sticker.
Belgians do it
coming
best.
back into this on a more newer brewer level, you have to do this with more adjuncts, meaning more simple sugars, more flaked bits and such.
But the
But-
Belgians are going to be less flakes. It's more of the simple
Yeah,
sugar
flake,
concepts.
flake
but
typically is not something that you would add to get other than corn and rice to give yourself more fermentable sugars.
Okay, but
Okay.
what are you using for base grains in these?
Pils.
Mostly pilsners.
Mostly Pilsner.
I would say.
Almost
Pilsners,
always Pilsner.
Yeah.
a variety of sugars, and then what kind of yeast are we using to get to these?
All Belgian based. You know,
Trappist,
I mean,
high
we got
gravity,
Trappist high gravity.
37,
whatever
87.
form.
1214.
There's a bunch of these, and I'll be real honest with you. You know, you guys hear me hype a lot about the dry yeast. To me, this is one of the things that I really focus on when I do my beers. To me, these styles of beers are so yeast centric that I do use liquid yeast for this.
Right.
And the only reason I say that is because I've used these. You know, if I was doing a Belgian blonde, I have no problem pitching a dry yeast.
Right.
I mean, I would do it in a heartbeat, but
Or a triple, maybe even. See, here's what I was going to say. What you just said is that I think T58 has won a lot of competitions, but I think it's been won by brewers who know how to really manipulate T58
yeah.
versus
I
just
think-
like, hey, pitch it in at a right whatever temperature and just let it ride.
If I was to use T58 for a Belgian triple, which I think is very feasible, I've even used it for a saison. You got to mash that baby real low. I mean, you got to have it to where you're maybe mashing it 146, 148. And the reason being is because you want that wort to be extremely fermentable.
right.
Because otherwise it's not going to dry out the way you want it to. You don't want to you don't want to mash this at 152, 154 because it's going to leave too much sugar left over and you're going to get hammered in competition. And the reason being is it may not only it may finish out at 10, 12, 10, 14, 10, 16, and you're not happy with that.
Oh, that's horrible. Yeah.
Yeah, you want it to be below or 10, 10 or below, I think, for competition
Sevens.
standpoint. Yeah. And
7,
so
8.
even if you add sugar to these things, I think you've got to have some of this, you got to have some of the fermentability. And because of the T58, I think it has a great freaking flavor.
You're right.
I think it really does. The biggest problem with it is fermentability. Now to say, hey, oh man, you want a Stein with a quad with it, so
Right.
it
totally works.
whatever, So,
But you have less to hide behind with the golden ones.
Yeah, I think so.
Triple and
but
Golden Strong.
I would say for me, this is one. I mean, there's only a few few styles that I really like liquid yeast, and these are a couple of them. I like quads, triples, and German Hefeweizen. Those are the three styles that if I'm using liquid yeast, those are the ones I'm using. And I like wheat beer too, liquid yeast on liquid.
The
beer.
stuff that actually adds those kind of
But
spicy
man, if
phenolics
it's
and whatnot. Yeah.
but if it's American ale, pale, whatever, I'm using straight up dry yeast. But those are I think these are the very important strong keys to building a great beer within this style range that we've covered quite a few of the big ones. I think, we've covered 3 or 4.
yeah,
now,
we're almost
right?
done actually.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I think we have left is Double, right?
Well, yeah,
Double?
sort of. Yeah, we're in that
Double,
range. Yeah.
So I think that's really important on doing that stuff. I think we're ready to wrap up.
Yeah,
wrap
we're
this dude
ready.
up?
Yeah.
Okay. In upcoming episodes, we'll finish out our Belgian style coverage, talk a bit more about creating a yeast bank and using slants. Oh, crap. Are we really?
Some point.
Okay.
We got a lot of
Yeah,
stuff we need to
'cause we'll
talk
get
about.
Nick in here.
I may have some special guests coming up. So I may have Nick from RAR coming back.
We're gonna have him anyway.
Yeah, but I think
But,
we're going to have him
yeah.
in to talk about oxidation because
Right.
he's been working his ass off on oxidation. So he's really been doing some
Sounds fantastic.
he's doing some really good stuff. We're actually even doing some stuff with him. We're talking about doing some stuff with him with the non O2 brew and stuff like that versus
that low oxygen brew we talked about before. I believe.
yeah, the Bavarian Helles, that you
Mhm.
don't use any. But anyway, anyway, those are some things that we have coming up. Please, again, be sure to check out our Patreon account at patreon.com/comeandbrewit radio to help support the show. Because if it's not for you guys, I can't pay to get these drunk asses home. So
There are a lot of us.
yeah, and the Ubers are expensive up here. So we have a $2, $4, $5, $10, and $20 options because every little bit counts. Please, we want to reward you while you help keep the show going. We got some cool things coming up. I can't really say what they are. We've got some cool things for the
Stuff.
Yeah, we have some cool
Things.
swag that's coming up. I mean, like really kick-ass swag. So make sure the people that are going to get access to this stuff, if it's not free, it's going to be really affordable. Make sure to join the Patreon page, right? Thanks again for listening to Coming to Brew It Radio. Be sure to share with your friends on social media.
Not regular media.
Give us some ratings on iTunes
Or
and
that.
Stitcher. And to send any ideas or comments to info@texasbrewinginc.com. We love to hear your comments, whether they be good or bad. We like to hear them because we all argue and
Benefit
fight.
from them.
Yeah,
It's kind of fun.
yeah, it actually is. Also, you can check in on the brew days at the guys at their Beer Focus Facebook pages at Brew with Stubby. Just remember, follow me at Brew with Stubby because you're going to get some cool content there. Speaking of that, I know it's kind of off topic, but if you guys go in and you join the Patreon page, we're actually talking about having special content in between stuff. So make sure to join Patreon. Okay, but at Brew Focus pages at Brew with Stubby, Brew with Brando, Brew it with Mikey B, Brew with Pete, and Brew with Greg,
And that brew with Chris.
yeah, Brew with Chris. Yeah. But until next time, guys, thank you. I'll lose my voice. Come and brew it. Come and brew it. Come and brew it.
Tell me when we're off air if I remember something.
Balls.